Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And of course, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Thank you to everybody that's filing in here right now. Thank you so much for spending your Wednesday afternoon with yours truly. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Shouts out to everybody at work. Shouts out to everybody that may be jogging, exercising, what have you, man, whatever you're doing on this beautiful, marvelous day. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with yours truly. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the topic of conversation. If you're just tuning in, of course, you've probably seen the topic, and it involves some of the latest injuries that the New Orleans Saints have sustained as a team. A lot of key guys are going down. If you look at the cover of the thumbnail that I put out there, you got some really heavy hitters there. You got Marshawn Lattimore, you got Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, all guys dealing with injuries and different types of injuries. You got Marshawn Lattimore dealing with an abdomen issue or a rib issue. Based on what I seen, Jarvis Landry dealing with that knee issue that he's been dealing with for the last couple of weeks. Michael Thomas is dealing with a big toe. And then, of course, you have Chris Olave, who took a nasty fall after he caught a touchdown in the back of the end zone. Cornerback Kobe Bryant actually, slammed him to the turf. I don't think anything malicious was behind that, but he did sustain a concussion. And I feel like Chris Olave definitely deserves to be talked about when it comes to the injury because of all the new protocols and, all the things that are coming out when it comes to player safety and concussion. So these guys on this list right here, man, that's about about 5 interceptions a year at least about almost 2,000 yards worth of production, over 2,000 yards of receiving production right there. I mean, so when you look at those guys, it's really important, man. And we have to really discuss this because the Saints have really been dealing with injuries, honestly, since the offseason, since training camp. I mean, even with guys like Pete Warner, who didn't play any preseason games, he was injured, but I mean, he's been a beast. You got Davenport, he was dealing with issues. Michael Thomas, he was still dealing with the issues that date back to 2020. And now it just seems like the New Orleans Saints continuously having these injuries pile up. Now, I know a lot of Saints fans out there, they're wondering why. Like, why is this happening? Why does it seem like the Saints are losing the battle of attrition? Is it the strengthening and conditioning? Is it because of some of the practices that they're doing during practice? I don't think it's any of that. I just think that it's just football. And, when you think about the football gods, you want the football guys to be, shine upon you, right? You want them to be, kind to you. And they have not been kind to the New Orleans Saints. But that's why it's very, very important for teams to have depth because it's only a matter of time before a guy actually goes down. Teams that will start the season with the same guys that they had going into the end of the season, I just think that that's wishful thinking. That's not going to happen. All right. You're going to have some key guys go down. So it's very, very important that you have depth on this team. It's going to be unfortunate, if these guys can't be able to play in a game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And of course, I got to put this disclaimer out here. I'm actually doing this show before I know anything that's going on at practice. Okay. So anybody that probably show up late, TJ, you don't know what you're talking about, such and such practice today. I don't know what happened. Upon making this show, all right, I don't know anything about practice. I don't know anything what happened. I don't know the notes. I ain't hit up my boy Ross. None of that, all right? So this is just me right now in real time based on what I've seen, based on the injury reports dating back to before they had practice today, all right? I want to make sure I make that very, very clear, okay? But looking at that list of guys, I mean, you're wondering where the production is going to come from. I mean, you got Marquez Callaway out there. He had like a really clutch catch, I want to say, on third down with the quick slant, converting that third down to a first. You got Traquan Smith, who, I mean, it's feast or famine at this particular point. He might catch a pass that looks absolutely spectacular, or he might even let a pass go right through his hands when he's wide open. I don't know. Then, I mean, you got Keith Kirkwood, who caught an 18-yard catch, you know what I'm saying? Shouts out to him coming back, you know what I'm saying? Basically fresh as a daisy right off the street and producing. This is during the time for me. I feel like it's time for maybe to add some of these other young guys. Like, I don't know if, somebody like DeJohn Dixon. I know Quine Baker. I mean, he's still dealing with that suspension. He's I think he has maybe like 1 or 2 more weeks left on that suspension. But I have heard some positive things in regards to Rashid Shaheed possibly coming up. That's huge right there. Shouts out to Hoodie Jube. I was on his podcast on last night. And of course, the conversation about Rashid Shaheed came up. For those that may not know who that is, I know he didn't play in preseason, but this is a guy that holds the NCAA record for kick returns in a season. I mean, he was really productive at Weber State. And I cracked the joke. I said, how do you replace the guy who had all the NCAA records for kick returners? Well, you replace him with the guy that broke all his records. So I'm interested to see what Rashid Shaheed can do. And I'm always interested to see guys when they're hungriest. I call it first album hungry, right? It's when an artist first comes out and they're really trying to show the world that they are worth the price of admission. They're worth all the advertising and the press and what have you. So it should be interesting to see guys play, that's really, really hungry and understand their positions. You probably most likely may not be able to be as productive. I ain't talking about Shaheed, productive as a New Orleans Saint, but maybe this can be open up opportunities for maybe, if you're up for a contract next year, maybe a team will give you a look. So you never want to squander the opportunities that you have. You have to have that next man up mentality. And of course, I know that when we say the term next man up, we think about the next guy coming in and giving that same type of effort as the starter. But that's just not what it is, man. It's not going to happen. Like, there's a reason why guys are starters and there's a reason why guys are backups. But what you want is a guy that is going to be extremely hungry and that's going to go out there and give you everything that they have. What we won't accept is guys phoning it in. And as much as I like Deontay Hardy, to me, he was kind of phoning it in. And I don't think that it's a coincidence, that you end up being in this position, man. I just think that he could have, went a little bit more harder than he actually did. I'm not going to continue to knock the guy because I understand, I kind of follow his career. I know some of the things and hardships that he's been through, personally and professionally. So I'm not going to kick him, while he's down. But I do feel like this is one of the main reasons why you don't want to squander opportunities, because the last impression that we had was him not really putting forth that effort that we know that he can put towards. So you got to be able to take advantage of your opportunities. You got to come in there with that same hunger, no matter if you got a new contract, no matter if you're fighting for a contract, no matter if you're fighting for a roster spot. You should have that same level of hungry. Now, I understand that sometimes, you solidify yourself. You feel like you're laid, living up in the shade somewhere, but you can't phone it in, because there's always going to be that next guy that's coming behind you, and he's going to want your spot. Okay, this is a very competitive league, and these guys got to take advantage of these opportunities when you don't have the talent of a Landry, of a Thomas, of a Olave at your disposal. And even when you talk about the secondary with Marshawn Lattimore, which will be a huge miss if he does end up missing this week. Going up against Jamar Chase will be a tough ask, even for a guy like Lattimore. So asking the next guy to come and, go toe-to-toe with one of the best young wide receivers in the game, it's going to be a tough task for anybody. So those guys are going to have to step up, okay? They're going to have to go out there and put forth the best effort possible in order for the Saints to get that victory. While I'm thinking about it, this has nothing to do with injuries, but I have to say congratulations to Taysom Hill. He was NFC Offensive Player of the Week. I mean, I don't think that was a surprise to absolutely nobody. Taysom Hill is an extremely talented football player. You can line him up in all different type of positions, and he can make you pay. So it's good to have that type of weapon. I'm interested to see how the Saints are going to double down on some of that. Maybe using him in other capacities. Maybe, because teams are going to be zeroing in on Taysom now. There's no secret now. Like, y'all have him. Y'all showed us everything that he can do. We're going to account for him. So they're going to be accounting for Taysom going forward. So it should be interesting to see how Pete Carmichael is going to line him up and, allow him to be able to make plays. And, if he does, then I'm telling you right now, I mean, Taysom Hill can be a fantasy football dream. You know what I'm saying? If you got a fantasy team, he's a dream. He's the guy that's going to get you some points in all different types of ways. Not only will he be able to do it running, he can do it passing. He can do it in other ways as well. So you're going to get your points. So I'm pretty sure everybody was, scrummaging through the fantasy team and looking at the players, and they found Taysom Hill somewhere, and somebody's going to be using them. But I'm interested to see how teams are going to be able to respond after such a Herculean performance, and it should be interesting to see what Pete Carmichael is going to do. How he's going to, be able to capitalize on this. I'm interested. I'm intrigued here. But we're gonna go ahead and read some of your comments, and like I said, in a few minutes, Brian McFadden should be joining us in a few minutes. He's a two-time Super Bowl winning champion. Some of y'all know he's a part of CBS Sports headquarters, All Things Covered podcast, man, having some of the best guests and some of the biggest names in the NFL, as well as the sports and media world. So he will be joining us once again. And I'm looking forward to talking to him about not only the Saints, but the state of the NFC South as a whole. Cajunomics says, I actually heard the Bengals run D is good. Yeah, they're actually good. I think they're ranked number 4 or number 5 in the NFL, in run defense. So they don't give up much, right? They don't give up much. So this is going to be what we want to see, Who Dat Nation. I mean, was last week an outlier? Has this offensive line really turned the corner when it comes to run blocking? We'll see, because they're going up against a very stout defensive front in the Cincinnati Bengals. Step up to the plate. My toe hurt, Dennis. We always had bad luck. You ain't never lying. That was smooth, Kenny G. Let's see. It's next man up depth is what holds your team together. Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely important. When you're creating a team, when you're creating a roster, it's very, very important to make sure that you have a solid roster. Me personally, I think the best roster the Saints ever had as far as depth was 2020. It was Drew Brees' last season. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the job done. But that's how you want to build your team. And honestly, the Saints, they have the capital to be able to have depth on their team, but it's all about putting the right guys on the field. And because your starters are going to go down. It's just bound to happen. Everybody, we get spoiled by guys like Cam Jordan who never miss games, right? And we got spoiled until the last 2 years of his career with Drew Brees. Those guys didn't really go down like that, right? So when we have guys that end up getting injured, we kind of looking at them sideways and we wondering what the heck is going on. But it's very important for you to have depth on your team. Guys that can come in and make plays in the absence of starters. But it's always the food we eat here. Let's see. Look at Zion. He had a shake bag. Well, that's good. I just think that, that's great for Zion Williamson, man, because he's such a talented guy. And you would hate something like nutrition to get in the way of his success. So he looks good. He looks more explosive, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the Pelicans can do as a group. Tim, thank you very much for the $5. Says, TJ, are we in the twilight zone? How are we really experiencing this injuries all over again? You know what? I really just don't know. Unfortunately, it's just bad luck. It's just bad luck sometimes. Sometimes the football guys shine upon you and you're able to win the battle of attrition. I think about the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. I don't remember them having any type of significant injury. They basically went the whole entire season, couple nicks, of course, but not to the magnitude where you're losing core players. And then, you got teams like the Saints, going into the season, we were all excited about what this team can possibly be, what they were capable of, what they can do. And all of a sudden, here come the injury. So, unfortunately, it happened, but maybe, if the Saints can kind of, get a few wins under their belt and you get some guys back, maybe they can, get them at a right time where, you can possibly make a playoff push. Let's see. You get my email. Josh, yes, I did get your email. I saw it today. I I don't have any issue with that at all. You know what I'm saying? As far as like doing that on the YouTube channel. I mean, look, I don't have no problem with doing that. Just hit me up. Just hit me up again, and we'll discuss the particulars on how we gonna go about that and what day we can set that up. But yeah, I saw it, man. I saw it today, and thank you for the $2, buddy. Says Dennis, my toe is hurt. Can't play for the rest of the year. Big toe, big toe. Marriott. Rashid was probably already on the mind before his injury. Probably was, he probably was. I mean, look, it's tough. It's tough to see that guy that's rising from the ashes like a phoenix, you know what I'm saying, to come and take your job, right? You know it. I mean, the Saints knew what's up. Like, these guys are kind of 2 steps ahead when it comes to the finances, right? They knew more than likely, well, not more than likely, that they weren't going to pay Deontay Hardy. They weren't going to pay him, and they tried to find somebody that'd be just as productive as him. Now, Rashid Shaheed, we talking about what he did in college, okay? We don't know what he's going to do in the pros, okay? College and the pros are 2 different things. We always see these overnight success and these guys that were beasts in college, and they come into the league and it just can't translate. So until I actually see it in real time, okay, I'm going to just leave it out there, okay? I'm going to reserve my judgment till all the facts come out. But that's actually what was on the mind of the Saints. You had to believe that. TJ, I love to see what we have out of the other wide receivers on the roster. They some real dogs. Yeah, Ty, look, if you're expecting them to have the same type of production as some of these guys that are on the marquee, right? The Landrys, the Thomas, the Olaves, I think you're sadly mistaken. There's going to be a drop-off. It's just as simple as that. You shouldn't go into it expecting these guys to be, go out here, taking the league by storm. What we're looking for right now is production. What we're looking for right now is moving the chains. What we're looking for is guys that are going to catch the ball if Andy or, Jameis, as long as it depends on who's throwing him the football, they catch it, right? They making plays, all right? Nobody needs to be a superstar here. You just got to be a contributor, right? It's okay to be Mike Miller, right? It's okay to be, Hito Turkoglu. You know what I'm saying? It's good. It's okay to be those guys, right? T-Mac, Trace McGrady dish it out to Hito Turkoglu for 3, switch. Dwight Howard, switch. You hear what I'm saying? Like Mike Miller. LeBron passed the ball to Mike Miller, shoot that thing for 3. Kyle Korver, like it's okay to be these guys, right? It's okay to be able to put up a 3 every now and then, not being a star of the team. It's okay. You still need those guys, right? You think about, one of those NBA finals, Michael Jordan passed the ball to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr makes that shot, right? I mean, Steve Kerr, he contributed. He even put up many points as Jordan, but he made a play. So I'm not looking for Jordan. I'm not looking for LeBron. I'm not looking for Zion. I'm looking for guys that are going to be able to right the ship and keep it afloat until these stars come back and be able to really make some noise and be able to do the things that they do that make them special to help the team win. But you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, and you don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball, and you definitely don't want to continue to make excuses, all right? I don't want to hear any excuses, because honestly, the same guys that are out there that they're going to parade out here, if those 3 guys, Landry, Olave, and Thomas, are injured, or the same guys that they paraded out there all year long last year. So you have that experience. The light shouldn't be too bright for you. You went up, if you're Callaway, you went up against the number 1 corner every single week on every team because you were the number 1 guy. They looked at you as that, even though, you leave a lot to be desired when it comes to the number 1. You're still talented. You're still good. So the light should not be bright for these guys. They should know what to do, and they should be able to take advantage of their opportunities. That's just the way I feel about that, man. You're going to have to record that for us, TJ. The big toe anchors the foot. Let's see. Dennis got to start working out the Saints players' toes. Weak toe boys. Toe boys. Win by any means necessary. I agree with that. We need a toe scout. Call Rex Ryan. In addition, thing to worry about now in the game is if a biased spotter will randomly take a player out of the game. Yeah, that is something to worry about. But Yeah, it's sad that we have to worry about those type of things. Did anybody see that Kate Adams interview with Sean Payton? Sound like he wants to come back to the Saints. I don't think he want to come back to the Saints. I think Sean Payton want to take on a new challenge, and it's well within his rights to do so. Like, I feel like it's just like any job. Like, if you've been on a job 15, 20, 30 years, right? Sometimes, you reach a point where you like, man, I want to take on a new challenge. I want to do something different. I want to do something that I've never done before. And like I said, I mean, he done everything that he needs to do with his team. Like, he gave this organization credibility, and he did what he needed to do. So if he want to go out here, try to find another job and try to build another franchise up from the ground up, it's well within his rights. I don't think it's just so much a Saints thing. I think it's more of what I'm looking for. I think it's more of a competition thing, right? I just think that he loves being a coach. But it's good to see Sean Payton in a different light. I thought that he might flake out or not pan out on TV, but I mean, he definitely exceeded my expectations. I mean, he's a funny guy. He's witty, and he was the star of the show when he was on that Kay Adams show. No doubt about it. We need a toe jam and Earl. Play another toe jam. Play it nice and sweet. Oh man, but yeah, man, they need to figure it out. I mean, but I don't think it's anything in regards to like strength and conditioning. I just think that guys, end up getting hurt, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, that's why you have to be able to have depth on your team. You got to be able to do that. So you got to be able to be able to have that depth. And right now, we're going to see if those guys that are behind some of these star players going to be able to step up and be able to make some plays. So I'm going to read one more, then we're going to introduce my special guest here. I watched the Kay Adams interview with Sean Payton, and he just sounds like he misses New Orleans, sounds like he misses the team, the players, and the front office. Well, yeah, Look, I just think Sean Payton misses football. I think he misses football. Of course, it was a stable organization that they built together. He and Mickey Loomis and the Benson family. I mean, of course he's going to miss it, but at the same time, I just think he wants to coach. And I say I don't think he wants to coach the Saints. I think he just wants to take on a new challenge. And there's not, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. Now I understand, like, if Dennis Allen don't pan out, and the Saints don't make the playoffs and they look bad, and then Sean Payton comes back into the league, coach somebody else, I think a lot of people might change their thoughts and views about Sean Payton because they're going to be like, where you was at when you needed us. I mean, when we needed you, Sean, where you was at. But I digress. But right now I want to introduce my guest here on the State of the Saints podcast. He is a two-time Super Bowl winning champion. He's also a part of CBS Sports headquarters, and you can also check out his podcast, All Things Covered, along with legendary All-Pro future Hall of Famer Patrick Peterson. I'm talking about my guy B-Mac, Brian McFadden. B-Mac, how you doing, man?
What's happening? I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Man, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I know you're a hardworking man these days, covering NFL as well as college football, man. But thank you so much for your time.
It's always a pleasure, man. Anytime I get a chance to jump on with you, man, we have a great, informative, entertaining show. So I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit. We were talking about Sean Payton as you just got on. Yep. And, people were talking about, Sean Payton. He was on the Kay Adams show up in Adams on yesterday morning. And he was talking about coaching again. And a lot of people feel like, he misses the Saints organization, as far as like some of the things that he was saying on the show. But what are your thoughts on Sean Payton? Like, where do you see Sean Payton? Do you see him coming back into the league? Because it seems like he's gotten comfortable as an analyst. He's pretty good at it. Do you see him coming back into the league maybe next year or the year after?
No question, I do. I see him coaching once again for a few reasons. Number one, the love is still there for him. Clearly, it is, right? Mm-hmm. I had an opportunity to have Drew Brees on my podcast, All Things Covered. Yep. And Drew Brees, and I asked Drew Brees, I said, what is more likely to happen? You returning to the NFL or Sean Payton return? He said easily he believes Sean Payton will be a coach at some point in time in the near future
Right.
in the NFL. And then lastly, for me, you remember when the unexpected news surfaced that Sean Payton might leave the Saints or might not? Remember?
Yeah.
He was leaving the Saints for a particular opportunity.
Mm. Yeah.
It wasn't just to remove himself from coaching. It was to remove himself from coaching briefly, but to jump into another opportunity, which would be coaching. And of course, that was going to be with the Miami Dolphins. Now we hear it, you know what I mean? But I was one of the ones that kind of heard, bits and pieces of that potential story.
Right.
And I started saying certain things, and people were saying I didn't know what I was talking about. Number one, I said that I didn't think he would be coaching for the Saints. If everybody's like, we hear this every year.
Right.
And number two, everybody was saying, Sean Payton and the Miami Dolphins doesn't make any sense. Why would he do that? But it wasn't just Sean Payton that was going to go to Miami. Of course, now we're hearing, and I said as well, Tom Brady would have some Miami Dolphin ties as well.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, yes, I think it's only a matter of time before Sean Payton returns to the NFL. I guess the bigger question would be, what job is super attractive for him to go ahead and say, yes, sir, I'm back?
Yeah. I mean, one job in particular, B-Mac, is the Carolina Panthers job. Matt Rule just got fired a couple of days ago. And of course, Sean Payton is out there, but we know that the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints are rivals. Can you see Sean Payton possibly becoming a coach of a team like the Carolina Panthers? Do you think that he will actually do something like that, or maybe one of these other teams out here that may be looking for a coach next year?
You know what? The question in regards to Sean Payton, what is super important to him, right? Is it total, complete control, or walk into a situation the roster is already assembled and you might not have that type of control? So to answer your question, I don't think Carolina would be an ideal destination for him because Sean Payton is the offensive-minded guy. He loves calling plays, and he loves being able to do so with a more than serviceable guy at the quarterback position. Right. And it's safe to say the quarterback of the future for Carolina is not currently on the roster.
Right. Good point.
And you don't know who that guy is, who that guy will be, how he will look, and how, will he develop. So I don't know. I would say no to Carolina right now. I think Carolina's in a bad spot.
Yeah.
They don't have resources. They traded away a lot of assets for guys that are not doing anything. They gave up a lot to get Sam Darnold, gave up a lot to get CJ Henderson. Who knows if Christian McCaffrey will be there after this year?
Yeah.
So I don't know how appealing that would be to Sean.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that when you listen to him talk, he wants stability. Yeah. And I think he wants to really kind of, do his own thing, and he wants the back end of the general manager as well as the organization. And right now, I just think that Carolina has some pieces. They got some talent on the team. I'm not going to take that away from them, but I do feel like there's a level of instability when it comes to like the organization as of right now. And I think it's, something that they need to fix before they can get a guy like a Sean Payton. But I do want to talk to you about the New Orleans Saints. And it's been a struggle this season. Okay, they started off with a magical comeback versus the Falcons. Then they lost 3 straight. That heartbreaking loss in London, the double doink. But they, come back, beat the Seattle Seahawks, get to 2-3. And Andy Dalton has been a quarterback over the last couple of weeks. Your guy, Jameis Winston, has been dealing with some injuries throughout the season. What are your overall thoughts about the Saints, how they started with Jameis Winston and how they look now with Andy Dalton after those 2 games?
I think my overall assessment for the New Orleans Saints so far in 5 games has been disappointment, honestly. I didn't think the Saints would be below 500 in the first ball games. I really liked the Saints to win the division. Right. During training camp, during the preseason moments, I felt like the Saints roster-wise had enough to be able to win the division, especially if you look at the success they've had against Tampa. And then, of course, it's basically it was only a 2-team race. You know, before week 1 kicked off, we felt like it would be a 2-team race in the NFC South with the Buccaneers and the Saints.
Right.
In regards to, play of Jameis, outside of that first ball game, I think he hasn't been healthy. Of course, it sounds like he got injured in the Falcon ball game and just continuing to play, but he hasn't been healthy. And because of that, we haven't seen the numbers that we thought we would see, looking back how well he played last year before the season ended in injury to his ACL.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara has been in and out of the lineup as well, right? We know how important he is to the success of the offense. Michael Thomas has been in and out of the lineup as well. Heck, he hasn't even gotten to a rhythm yet because he got injured before he can kind of get into the flow of things with the quarterbacks and the rest of the guys offensively. So it's just been a 5-game season so far of turmoil. But get this, though. You're still 2-3. There's a lot of football left to be played. A lot of football left to be played. And at the end of the day, in the NFL, just win. No such thing as style points. You know, this isn't the NFL doesn't have a BCS power ranking or playoff ranking. If you lose, you're gonna fall in the polls. That doesn't matter. It's not like college football. Just win. So people say, well, they barely beat Seattle. I don't care. A win is a win because you want to stack win after win after win. And like you talked about with the Saints, the games they lost, they found a way to lose. The Minnesota Viking games, they found a way to lose that game. This past Sunday, they found a way to win. So that is one building block in putting forth the steps to be able to continue to stack more wins on top of wins.
Yeah. I mean, the self-inflicted wounds, I mean, in these games that they lost, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, the turnovers, you know, the game versus Carolina, you know, Alvin Kamara fumbles, a player that never really fumbles, but it turns into a touchdown. I mean, they have found ways to lose games. And unfortunately, you know, like it kept them behind the 8 ball. But now, you know, hopefully they'll be able to, you know, right the ship. But I do want to ask you about the quarterback position. We're talking about Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. Okay. We've been talking on, you know, the State of the Saints podcast about Andy Dalton's performance. If Andy Dalton can string off 4 or 5 wins for, you know, or how long Jameis is out, do the New Orleans Saints, as soon as Jameis gets healthy, put him back into the lineup, or do you continue to go with Andy Dalton?
My personal answer, because I'm a Jameis guy, I love him as a quarterback. I think he's a talented guy. My personal answer would be to put Jameis back into the lineup. But speaking from the eyesight of an organization, I think they would stick with Andy Dalton. And the reason why is because contractually speaking, you're not tied to Jameis long term.
Right.
So you're still trying to figure out what is next moving forward after this year.
Yeah.
And if Andy Dalton is hot and they're winning ball games, then it doesn't necessarily have to be on the arm of Andy Dalton, but just because he's in the saddle, you know, he's winning ball games. They're winning ball games. You know, it's a different situation than what they have in Dallas with Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott, money-wise, everything is tied to Dak Prescott, so you're going to put the money out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Jameis has a nice contract, but it's not as lengthy and as intense as Dak Prescott. So Cooper Rush can beat the Eagles this Sunday night. Dak Prescott can come back in another 3 weeks, and Cooper Rush can still be undefeated. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to insert Dak Prescott back in there because that's where the money is.
Yeah.
And they paid him as the face of the franchise. The Saints didn't pay Jameis as the face of the franchise. They basically paid Jameis as the right now for the franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I just hate that it happened that way because I don't feel like he, you know, really truly got a fair shake. You know, I think that a lot of the injuries that he sustained, I think he was trying to fight through them, and he had limitations, you know. And I think that a lot of the decisions that he did make, I think that because of the injuries, he wasn't able to successfully perform them. So it's unfortunate, man, but we know that this is a results-driven league, and, you know, it depends on, you know, how well are you playing or how good the team actually looks. But just the overall scope of the New Orleans Saints, I got to talk about Dennis Allen, the head coach of the Saints. You know, what is your overall opinion of Dennis Allen so far? Does he look like he's a guy that can be able to lead the Saints in the future? Or just does he look like a coach that's kind of like a substitute teacher waiting for the real teacher to show up the next day?
That's the question. The thing about Dennis Allen, it's been a rocky 5-game stretch,
right?
But he has an opportunity to right the wrongs in regards to the opinions about him as a head coach. Yeah. The thing about Dennis Allen, though, is I oftentimes find myself thinking about his first experience as a head coach.
Yeah.
And how left that went, right? So now when we see the mishaps, the self-inflicted wounds wounds from the players, and all that definitely goes back to coaching, not looking prepared, starting the games off slow and things like that. It's like, whoa, these are things that kind of followed him this first stint.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
I understand for Saint fans, everyone was pulling for Dylan Allen because he did such a great job with the defense, and you felt like if he was the head coach, you kind of keep everything in place
Right.
for the defense.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I know about the game of football, especially in the NFL, some coaches are better suited as coordinators than head coaches.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that now for Dennis. I'm not saying that right now. What I'm saying, some coaches are just more suited. They're better suited as a play caller, as a coordinator, than a head coach, a guy that's overseeing everything, because that's a different type of pressure. Let's see which is better for Dennis. You know, it's still a lot of ball left to be played. But I can tell you this much, regardless of the injuries, regardless of what is going on, if the Saints don't make the playoffs, it's a disappointment. It's a disappointing year, hands down.
Yeah, no doubt about it. My final question, I got to follow up with this. Now, you being in the locker room, for many years, and a lot of Saints fans, they'll say comments like, "Well, why don't he put his foot down? Like, why don't he, go and hold somebody accountable?" Like, can you bring us into a locker room and what is on players' minds, like, when it comes to a coach? Like, I'm pretty sure you all can see if a coach is being like sincere or he being phony, right? I have to believe that players can actually see that, right?
Yeah. And for the people who feel like, or they question a coach in why he don't put his foot down, why he don't do this, why he don't do that, how do you know he's not doing that? You only see him on game day. You only see him on game day on the sideline. You don't see him on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when there's a direct relationship back and forth with those players. We don't know if he is or if he's not putting his foot down. And a lot of coaches don't like to show any extra antics on the sideline because you're in the flow of the game. Emotions are already high. You don't want to lose a player emotionally because you're kind of teeing off on them. If there's a better way to get your point across.
Right.
So for those individuals who feel like Dennis Allen or another coach of the Saints, they need to do this, you don't know. You only see them for a short amount of times on Sunday.
Right.
So you don't know what they're doing. But in regards to players knowing and being held accountable, that's the name of the game in the NFL. Because we know one thing as NFL players: if you don't do what you're supposed to do, and if you don't do it in a consistent way, you won't be out there very long.
Yeah.
Your leash is not as long as some players' leash based on the position they play and based on the money they're getting. And to whom much is given, much is expected. The bigger that paycheck is, the bigger the expectations become as well. Yeah.
I just think that like you just mentioned, I mean, you being a former player, I mean, you've been inside the locker room. We only see like you said, if we see a practice, if a training camp being out there, but we don't really see like the ins and outs. So I guess we don't know. But I look at Dennis Allen. I mean, the jury's still out about him. I try to give him a chance because I feel like B-Mac is pretty hypocritical, right? On one hand, I'm supporting Jameis Winston because I'm like, that 30 for 30 was an outlier. So how can I sit up here and say, okay, I support a guy who had a down year and not support a coach that basically had like the same thing, right? So they're both going to a different organization, and you think that the narrative is going to change, but I mean, the jury's still out about him. My final question I have for you it involves player safety. Chris Olave, he took a nasty hit when he scored a touchdown. Cornerback Kobe Bryant for the Seattle Seahawks slung him down. You seemed like he was out for a few minutes. Concussion seems to be a really big hot topic. And then some people are saying that was actually the excuse for that whole Grady Jarrett roughing a passer call. As a defender, what are your thoughts about first that roughing a passer call and also the issues with concussions? What are your thoughts about that? Do you feel like the league needs to kind of tighten that up, and do you think it's going to affect how players come back into the game? Like how you got a couple of days of protocol. You think that's maybe going to get extended? How do you think they're going to approach this going forward?
Well, the unnecessary roughness calls that we saw Sunday and Monday, the Monday night game on Chris Jones, were horrible.
Right.
Bad. And the thing about that call, you can lose ball games because of bad calls.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's hard to get over that. And remember, in that situation, that was third down with Tampa. Atlanta was going to get the ball back with more than enough time to put a touchdown on the scoreboard to either tie it or win it by one or something like that, whatever the case was. Luckily for Kansas City, they were able to still win that ball game. My thoughts on these penalties and how they're trying to police and protect quarterbacks, okay, I get it. But make those calls reviewable. The same way you review a touchdown, make those calls reviewable, because it's hard for a referee with human eyes to be able to determine in a split second if someone was trying to be rough with that quarterback and commit unnecessary roughness, or it was just a flow of the game and there was no ill will intent on that player. Right. With Chris Jones, there was no he was trying to muscle the ball away. He just happened to fall on the quarterback.
Right.
The only thing he could do is make himself disappear, but that's not possible. So if he's trying to get the ball, not to mention most of these quarterbacks are big and athletic, so you just don't want to go up there and just tap them. You want to make sure you have them in your grasp. In that situation, you review that, man, that's not, come on, man. He didn't dive him in the ground. He didn't push his body on him in the ground. He just happened to fall on the man. It's hard to tell a 300-plus pounder that while you going down, try to remove yourself off the band while muscling the ball away. Not physically impossible. Then with Grady Jarrett, the thing that surfaced for the referee's mindset was when Tua got slung down. Right? Yeah. It wasn't by the same force, but it was kind of the same thing.
Right.
Which is wrong. Grady Jarrett didn't sling Tom Brady down with the force that the player slung Tua down. So review it. Let's go. I don't care nothing about where it might slow the game up. It makes sense. It's worth it.
Right.
To get it right or to get it wrong.
Yeah.
And for fans to say, well, no, for the Buccaneer fans to say, well, no, that was right. No. Think about if this was the other way around.
Right.
And your defender did that to Marcus Mariota. Just imagine how hot you would be. So you got to be fair.
Yeah.
So they should make these things reviewable, hands down, the same way they review touchdowns. In regards to the concussion, let's keep it real. There was nothing wrong with the protocols. There was nothing wrong with the protocol. The issue was they didn't follow the protocol the right way.
Wow.
Because we've seen over the last 4 or 5 plus years when guys look like they're dazed, they take their helmets away from them, they come to the sideline. And usually those guys don't come back in the ball game.
Yeah.
For them to sit here and give us a bogus excuse about the reason why he seemed disoriented was because of a back and ankle injury, stop that. So now, because you guys messed up, you're going to police everything to the extreme.
Yeah.
To cover up the mishap that you messed up on and to say, we got to change the protocols. The protocols were good. They just weren't followed.
Yeah. I feel bad for players like that, because I think about you all, I mean, you're competitors, right? You want to play. And if there's a chance that you can play, you're not going to say, no, I can't play. And, I just think that they have to be able to, like you said, follow the protocols. But I also think when it comes to some of these calls, B-Mac, I understand the NFL, there's such a small margin for error, right? I don't care if it's one of the worst teams in the league. If you're going up against the best, that team can still beat them, because of the competition. So I just think about y'all train all year long to get to that particular point. You're winning games. Let's just say you go to the postseason, and a flag is the deciding factor, and people are just it happened. I feel bad, because you train the entire time to get to those particular points, and for a flag to come out to negate all that progress. Or people will say, oh, it's just week 5, but that week 5 game can affect your playoff implications later on in the season. I want to say, was that it was one of the replacement refs when they called that play. And who ended up losing? I think Green Bay ended up losing, but it ended up affecting their seeding or something like that. It's when you mess up, no matter how early it is, it can affect.
It can follow you.
Yeah.
Prime example. Let's look at Atlanta, which was a divisional game this Sunday against Tampa, because their offense didn't get a chance to get the ball back when they should have received the ball back. They didn't get a chance to score. They lost. That was a divisional game.
Yeah.
Now, that could hurt them towards the end of the season when playoff implications are right there.
Right.
And you just needed that one game to solidify your status to get into the playoffs.
That's crazy.
That's the hard part. Referees, and I said this Sunday night, it's tough to watch the NFL when you're more concerned about the referees than the actual play of the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. They definitely need to tighten that up. Final question before we leave this topic: do you think referees should be full-time? That seems like that's a hot topic right now. Should they be full-time in your opinion?
I think they should. Now, how realistic is that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if they can't be full-time and go through the necessary loops to be able to be as flawless as possible, which they would never reach, but just as possible, then help them with things that could be reviewable.
Right.
Touchdowns could sometimes be a judgmental call. It's up for the wrestler to either put his hands up or have one hand say it's down, it's fourth down, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But what they did to help them was, let's review them. Let's see if that knee was down before or he actually broke the plane before his knee was down.
Right.
So now we see the uproar that these unnecessary roughness calls are calling. When there's a judgmental call and it's not plain as day, then let's see it. And also, too, make it general. How can you call Grady Jarrett for a personal foul when the player who slung down to it didn't get hit with a personal foul?
Yeah, good point.
Like, how is that possible? So don't have it one way. Make it a general way. This is what we're going to do. Yep. This is always going to be a personal foul. You sling a quarterback down with that type of force, that's what we're doing. But if it's a judgmental call and the referee throws a flag, okay, man, let's review this. Because this could be, like you said, this could be the deciding factor of who wins and who loses.
Yep. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be sitting at home because of a referee mistake that happened in week 5. I mean, like you said, it can definitely affect, the long-term ramifications of where your team is going to go and where they can be. So, but B-Mac, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And look forward to hearing you on All Things Covered and all the, and also on CBS HQ. But let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, some of the things that you have coming up on the podcast as well as CBS Sports.
Well, sure. You can check me out on CBS Sports HQ as well. Talking college football, fantasy football, betting, NFL. I have my podcast with Minnesota Vikings standout corner Patrick Peterson. All Things Covered. We have a YouTube channel as well. So if you like watching YouTube, give us a subscribe. The same can be said for podcasts. We can be found anywhere where podcasts are found, any platform near you. And I'm just doing what I've been called to do, just talk football, man. Because of that, I haven't worked a day of my life.
And you do a great job of it, man. And we appreciate your time, B-Mac. Thank you so much. And look forward to talking to you and seeing your great content on your podcast and CBS Sports HQ, man. Take it easy.
Man, keep doing what you're doing as well, man. You one of the more faithful Saints fans I've ever came across, man. You diehard Saint from the time you probably could remember what football was to now, man. So keep repping your team and keep giving the quality content you're giving as well.
Hey, that's all I know, man. That's all I know. Sitting on my grandmother's floor at 4 years old. That's all I know is who that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You take it easy, man.
All right.
Take care. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was B-Mac, Brian McFadden, man. Shouts out to him. Good guy, man. Y'all know, man. And I think a lot of people, a lot of things that he said, we need to hear that, especially like when it comes to like some of like the referees and calls and stuff like that. Like, this is a guy who played in the league. This guy's a 2-time Super Bowl winning champion. So, I mean, definitely we got to do something about these referees. I mean, because they are deciding the fate. I mean, I'm not telling anybody that's a Saints fan something they don't already know, right? 2018, that's all I got to say. And everybody probably getting mad or probably throwing something at me right now. Let me duck real quick because somebody didn't hit me. But I'm just saying, they got to do something about this, man. They got to do something about this. But shouts out to B-Mac, Brian McFadden, man, for coming on State of the Saints podcast. I'm going to read a few of your comments, then we're going to go ahead and head up out of here. I asked everybody to hit the like button if you enjoyed the interview. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you like the interview, just go ahead and subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we're about 17 subscribers away from 9,000 subscribers. 17, okay? So if you're not subscribed, you can be a part of that 17. They puts the State of Saints podcast over the 9,000 subscriber mark, man. And I can't believe this. Like, this is unbelievable, man. Thank y'all so much for being here and supporting this show. You know, you got a lot of people, day oneers. I don't care if you're day 1027, because we've done 1,027 episodes of this. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Let me see. Trail says, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I'll leave that in the chat. Let y'all go ahead and squabble that out. Let me scroll back up a little bit. I don't know what that was about, but see, Jameis was back at practice, just reported about Nick Underhill. Thank you, Hart. Because like I said, I don't know about anything that's going on right now. I hit record about 52 minutes ago, so I don't know anything. And like I said, shouts out to all the people out there that put up-to-date news and information inside of the chat, because sometimes I might go hot, some might get past me, and I appreciate that. I thank y'all for that. Signed Jordan Howard to the practice squad. Come on now. Who said this last night? Who said who they think they need to go with? Right here. But, I mean, that wasn't like, you know, that was about the easiest solution that I ever thought of. You know, Jordan Howard has been with the team. He was on the practice squad last year for a little while, so the Saints are familiar with him. So I was like, as long as he passes physical, he's going to make the team. Run us our picks. McFadden. Man, shouts out to Slim South, man. Shouts out to you, man. I actually met him last night on Hoodie Jules show, man. Always supportive, always showing love. So it's good to like actually put a voice and actual face, you know what I'm saying, with the comments. So thank you, bro. Shouts out to you, man. Glad to meet you on last night. Perfect Q. I'm very suspicious of the Caesars having naming rights to the stadium that houses a team which, oh boy. Not the fact that the New Orleans Saints, okay, your biggest concern is Caesars, you know, being associated with a team that is built on religion. But also you understand that the house that they have their games was actually built on on top of a cemetery. But I digress. That's the least of your problem talking about Caesar's logo. He was going to the Dolphins, but he got caught. Mount Dog, he shouts out to B-Mac, man. You know, he's a guy, you know what I'm saying, like, that really works hard. He ain't about to like big up himself, but he was the first person, like, seriously, he was the first person that came out with the information. He told me, you know, so, you know, he came out with the information, you know, he sent it to me and shouts out to him, but he not going to like pat himself on the back. He's too modest for that. So, but he was the first person that came out with it. Like, if you go back, when all that talk was going on, he was the first person that came out there and said that. So, yeah. Realm, man, the corruption is everywhere to the point that the NFL doesn't even try to hide it anymore. You ain't lying. Show look like it's corrupted, and it's taken away from the game. I'm overshowing, bro. He did his thing here, but I'm ready to move on. Run us them picks. His name going to be connected to every team in the NFL. BG, yeah, look. I'm not overshowing. I appreciate his contributions, but I understand your sentiments. You're saying like he ain't coming back, he gone, so at least get something out of it. Not mad at that. Makes perfect sense to me. All right. If you're not going to get a legendary coach, a good offensive mind, and a good team builder, you might as well try to get some draft capital in the process, right? Mike T, Laddie Daddy, Landry, Ramchick, Turner were not at practice today. So Olave was at practice. Okay, so that's a good thing. I hope they don't rush him back on that field, man. Let's see. But Mike T, we'll see about tomorrow. Lattimore, not surprising. Landry, we'll see about tomorrow. Ramchick, he a veteran. Turner, next question. Sean just needs to get us them picks. It's a 2 first rounds and a starter. We'll see. Brian McFadden. Shouts out to Jerry being here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, folks. Scroll down a little bit. Man, thank y'all, man. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for hitting the like button. Thank y'all for subscribing. Shouts out to Hoodie Jube. I see him up in here, man. Trill Hatch, come back on, and I will make sure you don't get blocked. Didn't know someone blocked you. Nobody should be blocked unless they are just down bad or racist in the chat. I don't know what the heck going on, Trail. I don't know what happened here. Let's see. No blank because you speak your opinions is trolling. because they can't understand your point because it don't look step with what they're saying. Look, I agree with that. I think that there's a way of being able to understand one another. And I mean, honestly, you got to be able to, man, you got to be able to like accept people's opinion. Like, I think about this, man, and I hope he can see this. I think about like the conversation that me and Last Saint had, I guess, that kind of caused a rift between us. And I think, going back to that show, I think I do owe that dude an apology because I think I hung up on him because I was frustrated. But I just think about, I don't think he deserved it. You know what I'm saying? And he was just basically giving his opinion about a quarterback that he liked. And I didn't feel like that was right. So I hope he see this. I apologize, for that. I mean, anything that happened after, man, it is what it is. I can understand the frustration and anger. But, yeah, sometimes, our personal views and the way that we feel can kind of affect our logic sometimes and makes us angry. But yeah, like we should always have an appreciation for people's opinion. And sometimes, even some of the things I say, I need to actually practice every now and then. But yeah, sometimes like we can get so like passionate behind what we're actually saying that sometimes, people may feel if they have a difference of opinion than we do, then, they don't like that. We're all different. We're all like, that what makes us special. Who wants to be married? Who wants to date? Who wants to be friends with people that just think like them? Now, you want them to have some similar characteristics, maybe like good judgment, for example, but nobody wants to be around a person that thinks the same way they do. How amazing would life be if everybody just thought the same? It wouldn't be very amazing. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So we should respect people's opinion, but I do feel like this. God, gives us the ability to speak. He gives us the ability to be able to expound on things, and you don't have to curse each other out and disrespect people and stuff like that in order to get your point across. You can agree to disagree, move on, still be friends, dap it up, okay? Right? It reminds me, when people really, used to fight and, after the fight, it was over, they'll dap each other off and that's a wrap. You remember them days, before everybody, was afraid to take a loss, and now all of a sudden I'm going to get the gun, I'm a daddy. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Now everybody, can't take a L. I think that people need to have that. Like, okay, man, we had a little dust up. You think this way, I think that way. We ain't like it, but guess what? We still friends at the end of the day. We still saying who that. We want the Saints to win on Sunday. So I think that we just need to practice that. I really do. I really do. They said Jameis was at practice. Thank you for the $2, Roger. Yeah. Shouts out to Hart, man, for telling me that. Man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Hey, TJ, I've been here over 4 years, so I'm about to unsubscribe so I can't probably get a gift. Just joking. Man, I got something for the 10th. Like, we got a little special. When we hit 10,000 subscribers, I will have a special episode. We'll have a special episode, and I will be giving out things. And I'm just letting everybody know this in a couple of weeks. I am going to be doing something. Last year, I gave like a gift card for Thanksgiving to somebody in need. So I will be doing that again this year. I'll let you know all the details and everything like that, getting that together. But I will be doing that this year. And I'll let you all know all the particulars, you know what I'm saying, so we can go ahead and do that around Thanksgiving. So we will be doing a State of Saints podcast Thanksgiving Day giveaway. Somebody, can bless somebody, give them a gift card, maybe get a little turkey, get a little cranberry sauce, you know what I'm saying? So that will be coming up. And shouts out to everybody, that's been here. And Damien, if you are subscriber number 10,000, I'm not gonna count that, okay? Too late. You've been here too long, my brother. You've been here too long. Let's see. If Jameis is healthy, we should be okay once he's available to play. But if not, roll with Andy. My dog, yeah. I agree with that. I ain't got no problem with that. Makes sense to me, but we'll see. It's going to be hard to go back to him if them boys clicking on all cylinders. If they hot as fish grease and he comes, it's going to be hard for the Saints to put him back on the field. I mean, it's not going to change the way I feel about him, but it's just business at the end of the day. It's a results league. I feel like our offense was way better than it has been in a hot minute, and I hope we can keep the momentum. Well, hopefully we do keep the momentum, but we also got to take into account and we got to calm down. We got to woosah just a tad bit and understand that there was a terrible defense that the Saints played. So this defense that's coming into town this weekend, they're a little bit better. So I think you'll be able to judge this offense better if they'll be able to do some things against a very stout defensive front and a decent pass rush with the Cincinnati Bengals. You might as well watch WWE or AEW if you want a show where the outcome is determined. No point in watching the NFL. Perfect Q, I disagree with that, man. I mean, the NFL, for all the imperfections that it has, it does do some good, okay? It does do some good. I don't see many, sports that can just bring people from different walks of life together. You high-fiving individuals, what I'm saying, no matter what they look like, no matter race, color, creed, gender. It does have some positive things. And not to mention, man, there's nothing that feels better than watching your team succeed, So I say this, man, there's always going to be things that we can be upset about. There are always going to be some things we can be upset about or some things that kind of make us frustrated. But I rather look at the positive things at times. I understand the referees kind of make it hard for you, but don't let it make you lose the love that you have for a game that you probably watched since you were young. I told B-Mac before you left, all I know is football. At the age of 4, I was sitting on my grandmother's living room floor listening. I don't want to say watching because the Saints sucked at that time, but I was listening to the game. And those memories still with me. And that was during a time when I knew the Saints weren't going to win a doggone thing. But at the age of 36, I'm still here. I'm still a big Saints fan. And I enjoy watching this team. So don't let anybody take that love and that passion that you have for enjoying your team away. I mean, football is not, is not perfect, but I mean, it's a beautiful thing to watch, especially like when you see offenses and defenses going at it. That's pretty doggone good. Nola Bar says Saints haven't been healthy enough for us to see the full potential. I agree. It's hard to kind of determine what this team is because you ain't really seeing a bunch of, healthy guys. Just hope they keep using AK like they did last game. Yeah, they definitely need to use AK, but we don't want to run them down to the ground. I don't want to run your boy down to the ground because what they're doing is actually working. So it is what it is. Let's see. Between Hill and Dalton, our offense took off, just saying. I mean, look, you don't have to say it. I think everybody saw that. I don't care if you're the biggest Jameis Winston supporter or not. The combination of Andy Dalton and Taysom Hill together collectively worked against the Seattle Seahawks. But we also got to see if it's going to work once again. It looked good. Okay, it looked promising, but let's see if we can actually start springing off a couple wins. The Saints are still below 500. Okay, the win last week does not absolve that fact. All right, so hopefully they can get back to 500. I don't care how they do it, just do it. Who ain't swag? I'm definitely swag. Okay, I'm definitely swag. All right, Jackson State University graduate, alumni. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm definitely swag. All right. I won't say that's all I know because I started my college life at Dillard University before Hurricane Katrina, and then I transferred to Jackson State. And unfortunately, it happened in such a tragic situation, but it was such a great experience, man. And so shouts out to all the Jackson State Tigers out there, the Grambling Tigers, the Southern Jaguars out there, Alabama A&M Bulldogs, them Hornets of Alabama State, Valley, everybody, HBCU, no matter which one you went to. It's all love. Come on, TJ, if I unsubscribe and subscribe at 10K, no matter how I'm number 10,000, I'll win. Just kidding, big dog. I love and been supporting all your platforms. Just had to get you a second. Still here over 4 years. Yeah, man, look, I appreciate that, Damien. I really do, man. And I know you're joking. No doubt about it. But, man, it's just a blessing, man. I never thought that this podcast would be at this particular point. Like we interviewing Super Bowl champions, and it's just amazing, man, to know where this podcast actually came from and what we're actually building, and I love it, and shouts out to y'all making this this podcast what it is. Not about revenge. We are just trying to get to 500. I guess we probably talking about Andy Dalton revenge game. Look, anything that motivates you, okay? They made a mistake. You want to have an out-of-body experience and throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, have at it. Honey, when I heard them being called the Cajun, called Cajun, Dalton and Hill, I hollered. Yeah. Who said that? Who said that, man? Who came up with that? Sound like a t-shirt. Feelings are not facts. I'll let y'all battle that out. As long as y'all dab each other off when it's all said and done. Let's see. We ain't win because of Dalton. Look, Dalton did contribute. Okay. I put it like this. All right. Hit this for my boy E-Mac. E-Mac, you go to I won't call him McDonald's. Let's just say you go to a hamburger spot, bomb hamburger spot, right? You know, let's say you went to Bun B Trill Burger, you know what I'm saying, out there, and you know what I'm saying, in Houston, Port Arthur area, you know, and you get a burger, right? You get a Trill Burger. You heard big things about it, right? You heard big things. Then all of a sudden, like, what comes with the Trill Burger? Well, we got a side of fries over here, right? Are you not going to eat those fries because you really came there for a burger, right? What I'm saying is the burger may be the marquee, but the fries might hit it off, right? You know what I'm saying? You came there for the burger, but your friend, the fries still hit it off. Taysom Hill was the burger. Taysom Hill was the delicious burger, you know what I'm saying, that you're about to eat and that you heard a lot about. But you still need them fries, though, to complete that combo meal. That's what Andy Dalton was. Andy Dalton, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say he was the fry. He probably was the drink. You know what I'm saying? But if you eat enough French fries, throat get a little dry. You know, you might need a drink. So I think that it all worked because you still needed Andy Dalton to sustain drives. You still were able to convert at a high rate on third down, the best that you did this entire season. And we have to admit, like, the times when the Saints asked him to throw, you know, like he delivered. It wasn't his fault that Traquan Smith missed the 2 passes. Wasn't his fault that the pass that Traquan Smith caught ended up being a flag. You know, like, so he was able to sustain drives. I just think that sometimes we fall in love with the 300-yard game, and if a quarterback isn't having a 300-yard game, we automatically just kind of just throw it all away. So yeah, that's it is what it is. Mark says, pause. Look, man, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm comfortable within myself. All right. So, but yeah, that definitely deserves a pause. And I appreciate you doing that for me. My fave is Storm and Mormon for Taysom. Yeah, that's a pretty good nickname as well. Let's see. Andy was the straw for the drink. Hey, still need a straw. Still need a straw. You don't know where that cup been. You don't know where that cup been before it got in your hands. So you need that straw. Let's see. Andy doing what he's supposed to do. Thank you. Like I said, it's not. I think that we fall in love with the Mahomes, the Bradys, the Rodgers, and it's like they are the cog. You know what I'm saying? They the engine that keep this thing going. You know what I'm saying? Like, they the engine. But like I said, I mean, he still contributed in a major way, and I ain't got no problem with that. You still need somebody to pull the trigger, throw the ball down the field, and that's what he did. Similarities give common ground to stand on. Difference gives you the opinion to learn more. The problem with this society is people think something must be wrong with you if you think differently. Yeah, I agree. Like, you can't turn everybody into a cyborg, right? You can't turn everybody into, like, you know, just one big machine. Everybody got to think differently. Now, with people I don't want to say I don't care for, but what I don't like what people do is when they just go against the grain just for the simple fact of going against the grain. Like, that would bother me, like contrarians, like people who just want to, like, push people buttons, and it's not even their real opinions about something. They just doing it because maybe they just not happy, or maybe they just feel like that's going to bring them the attention, you know. So Let's see. TJ, go ahead and hit the second verse of the turf for the turf toe. I don't even know. Let me see. Turf toe, turf toe, turf toe, turf toe. Hey. First is Penn, and then it's Thomas, then it's Hardy, and I'm wondering to myself, what the heck is going on? I run out the tunnel, look at Dennis, and he looked at me, my jaw dropped when the body, it started to hit the floor. He came on out, he said, "Two, what's wrong with you?" I had to let him know, "Coach, it's my big toe. Big toe, I think I got that turf toe, turf toe." TJ, sing it. Hey, let's see. Mark Ingram was the sesame seeds. Sesame seeds. Let's see. Hey, TJ. Have you gave a score prediction, or are you waiting till Friday? Yeah, you know, Damien, I normally do that towards the weekend, man. Let's see. Somebody signed this man, Mega Prime. It said, oh no. If you think they're running the same scheme for Andy they did with Jameis, then you're probably not paying attention. I agree with that. It works very well with Andy. Now give the same plan to a better quarterback, James. Jason, look, I will agree that they're not running the same offense, but both of them do two different things, so that's understandable. TJ about to go viral and get a deal for that song. I don't know about that. He said, "Bro, you never gonna be able to not sing this." Turf toe, talking about turf toe. Sign Dalton up next week. Next year, we can get 6 wins a season from him. There ain't a reason to sign nobody. 6 wins? What you gonna do with the other 4 that you probably need, or 5 you need to make playoff? Turf toe. TJ, what you think about trading Peyton to the Steelers for Tomlin? Oh boy, that would be interesting. Not a bad idea. They don't need a quarterback. Now, I think he probably gonna end up going to like the Chargers or the Broncos or something like that. Not to snap with it. Hey, you gotta snap with it. Bro, Traycon Smith, we don't claim him. TJ, is the hard snapping of the fingers for me. TJ, you got to hit the spin on that turf though. I spin around, I might have the cord, tangle me up. So I ain't gonna spin around. I ain't gonna hit the David Ruffin. I ain't gonna put the mic behind my back. All right, man. But thank y'all so much, man, for being here. Thank y'all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Special shout out to my guy B-Mac, Brian McFadden, passing by on the State of the Saints podcast. If you just so happen to show up late, kind of be kind and rewind. He was on the show. He talked a little bit about the Saints and also some of the officiating that's going on in today's NFL. And be sure to check him out on the All Things Covered podcast. Definitely about to hit him up for one of them T-shirts. Also, you can check them out on CBS Sports HQ, doing this thing for college football, NFL, and appreciate that, brother, man. We're gonna keep this momentum going, man. Try to get another guest and try to see what a good friend of mine, Mr. Mike Detillier, doing next week. Try to get him on the show. Try to see what his schedule looking like, and and also just getting some people that's familiar with the team to come by, to give us a little information. Just keep it locked right here to the State of the Saints podcast. Shouts out to all the podcasters, that pass by. Shouts out to Hoodie Jube. Shouts out to Aaron Black and Gold Breakdown podcast. Shouts out to all the podcasters out here working hard, trying to make good content for you all to enjoy. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. All right. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Also, go to Facebook. Facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Go to Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at TJAY Jones8. All right, till next time, take care of those big toes. Talking about that big toe. Who that?